The planet of power and transformation enters Aquarius this week, signaling a brand new era for the collective and for your universe. Hi all, my name's Haley Comet. This is my cosmic corner of the internet, and welcome to your weekly astrological forecast, Magic Monday. Today we're discussing the cosmic happenings from November 18th until November 24th, 2024, and beyond just letting you know what transits and ingresses that you could expect. Here on Magic Monday, we take a co-creative approach to your weekly horoscope so that you don't feel powerless to the cruel and mean powers that be or the planets above us, and instead understand how it is that you can work with these themes, how it is that you can synchronize with the stars, how it is that you can align with the astrology. That's why we call it Magic Monday, because when you are working with these energies rather than forcing against them, your life gets a lot more magical. I'm your host, Haley Comet, if I didn't say that already. Welcome to my Cosmic Corner. If this is your first time, I'm here every single week with a cosmic beverage by my side, and I would recommend you grab one this week. Grab a cup of coffee, pour a cup of tea, grab a snack, get a fuzzy blanket, get cozy. As cozy as you can get, because we have a shift this week that is not so cozy. We have the arguably most uncomfortable planet of the solar system shifting into a new territory of the sky. And as I highlighted within the intro, I am not a fear-mongering astrologer. I'm not saying that this is going to wreak havoc over your world, but what I am saying is that there is an ask to embrace change, both within your universe as well as within the collective. Really frame change as a vehicle for getting you closer to your own desires, as well as getting humanity closer to the visions of a more fair, a more just, a more equitable, more accepting world. As Pluto, the planet of transformation, enters into Aquarius this week. And Pluto has been here before. Pluto's been dabbling. It's like kind of been stepping its foot into the territory of Aquarius and then moving back into Capricorn, then kind of flirting with Aquarius, then moving back into Capricorn. But once it settles in this week on the 19th, it commits fully. It's no longer moving backwards, back into Capricorn, back to where it's been before. And there could be a nudge in your life to do the same thing, to commit to who it is that you are evolving into, to commit to what your life is changing into, to commit to where society is evolving. And that's particularly alive when we look at this week's astrology, because if we narrow the lens, so beyond Pluto and Aquarius, which is a 20-year story, if we narrow the lens just to look at this particular week, there does feel to be an energetic alive around being open to change, being open to adventure, being open to the ways that we can grow and evolve and move forward. And parts of this is because the sun enters Sagittarius on the 21st, which of course kicks off Sagittarius season for all of the archers out there. Happy early birthday. But this is a collective shift around really wanting to go in a direction of what feels meaningful. Like Sagittarius is the energetic of going on a quest, going on a journey. And there's so much about going on a quest, going on a journey, where there's lots of uncertainties. And so there's going to be parts of the path that are more favorable than other parts of the path. And the very nature of Sagittarius, it's represented by an archer with the arrow point in the distance, and the aim is meant to be the truth. So regardless on the experiences that await, whether they are favorable or they're unfavorable, regardless, you are going to learn. We don't learn when we cling to what was. We don't learn when we are banging on a door that's already closed and locked. We've been there before, right? You meet new sides of yourself when you go off on the quest, you go off on the journey. And it's important, however possible, particularly this week, to really work the muscle of optimism, because both energies are alive and they can sway you in two different directions. And so it's important, wherever possible, to really work the muscle around being optimistic about the changes that are in front of you, seeing the changes that are in front of you as an opportunity to learn, as an opportunity to grow, as an opportunity to move into new horizons within your life. And I won't lie to you, there are energies this week where we could be a little, delulu, okay? We could be a little overly optimistic, but sometimes we need that. If we book a trip, right? Sagittarius being the sign of the traveler. If we book a trip, of course, we're just going to be thinking of the beaches, and we're going to think about the new food that we're going to try, and we're going to project, the best case scenario, which of course will be part of the journey. But there will be parts of it that are not so pleasant, right? We may potentially get food poisoning and not be sure how to get the medicine in order to remedy that. We may get lost. We may find that a plane ticket that we booked is to the wrong airport, to the wrong wrong airport. Again, those snafus, those inconveniences could be so challenging in the moment. You could want to go back to what's familiar and what's comfortable, but you're learning, you're making memories. Like that's where we have stories to tell, adventures to be had. And we don't necessarily see all those twists and turns, nor do we need to. Because if we allow the anything could happen, the anxious mind to win out, we will project our worst case scenarios on the shadowy path, the path of change that awaits us, or this new adventure, right? And think, well, I couldn't possibly go somewhere. What if this happens? What if this happens? What if this happens? Better stay here. Like again, sometimes we need that optimism in order to set off on the path. And there will be twists and turns, maybe not all of which we can foresee at this particular moment, but there's an energy to really fuel yourself, fuel your mind with positivity. We see that with Mercury opposite Jupiter. Fuel your spirit with soul food, energy that reminds you that you are connected to something so much bigger than what is alive here. We see that with Sun trine Neptune this week. And fuel it as seeing change and transformation as an opportunity to meet new sides of yourself. That is the gift of stepping into uncharted territory, unfamiliar lands, unrecognizable new sides of our life, is we meet more sides of ourselves. We extract more us out of us. We know who we've been in the Pluto and Capricorn era since 2008. We know that person. Now it's time to meet who it is that we are in the Pluto and Aquarius era, and to get excited about that with Pluto sextile the Sagittarius sun. So as always, we will take you so much deeper into this energy thematically as well as day by day, supporting you with everything that you need to know as you step into this week and really step into this new era. Before we step into this new era, we may want a little refreshment by our side. So let me know, what are you sipping on to start your week? I made this cup of heart chakra tea. It's from the brand Positivity, tea spelled T-E-A at the end of it. I met the sweet owner, the creator of the tea at an event, and this is her heart chakra tea blend, and it's being infused by this adorable koala. I probably left him in too long. He probably didn't need to infuse this long, but I just wanted you all to see him. Isn't he cute? Doing his due diligence, infusing the tea. It always makes me so happy. I typically am more of a tea bag person, probably out of laziness, but also I love the quotes on the little tea bag. They always make me so happy. But my best friend who loves tea, is super passionate about tea, and he's a Capricorn moon, so you know he knows what he's talking about. He always told me that loose leaf tea is typically higher quality. So I've been trying to be on my loose leaf journey. So thank you so much to that koala for infusing my tea, which by the way is delicious. I feel like I can feel my heart chakra opening, which I think will be important within the upcoming astrology. Just really seeing wherever you can choose love over fear, where it is that you can choose connection over division, wherever it is that you could extend a helping hand as you're on this journey, as you're on this quest, as you're on this trip, on whichever level it's showing up for you. I have a couple of quick announcements and then we'll take it into our vibe check of the week. The first being, I do want to say, are my 2025 readings. So they are recorded readings. You can get them for yourself. You can get them for someone that you love as a gift. And what this reading will be is a personalized look at your 2025. So I look at your transits, I look at your progression, and I really detail how it is that you can work with the themes that are awaiting you within this next year. I really want this to be a resource that you can come back to if you need a little bit of like a cosmic pep talk as you're navigating the year. So also for all of my 2025 readings, I'll be customizing mantras that you can work with as you navigate the year. So there's a set amount of these readings, and once they're out, they are out, and dependent on the time that you order them will be the week that they are delivered. So they will all go out within January. Right now, I'm still taking orders for the first week of January, and then once those sell out, it'll be the second week. Once those sell out, the third week. Once those sell out, the delivery date will be the last week of January, and once they're gone, they're gone. There's a set amount, only taking orders until the end of December, and only sending out set orders in January. So if you're looking for a cosmic pep talk from my heart to yours, all about your chart and the energies that you're stepping into, check that out. I'll link it below. I completely understand that it's hard right now with the holidays and whatnot, so please do not have FOMO if it is not in your budget at this time. I do have something going live on my channel within the next few weeks that will still give you some guidance around the energetics that you are stepping into. So no FOMO, but I would love to work with you if you are feeling called to get clear on your particular chart, your energies, your unique fusion of signs and houses and aspects, and particularly what this year ahead is going to have in store, because 2025 is a doozy. I mean, my goodness, all of the outer planets are in new territories of the sky. So new transits bring new opportunities, bring new quests, bring new adventures. I also want to say that if you are craving community, if you're really deeply wanting to better learn astrology, better learn your own soul, deeply connect with other individuals who are on this path learning astrology, want to work one-on-one with me, whether that's through voice memos or consultations, I do want to say that my course, Self-Care Astrology, is enrolling now. This week particularly, it's a great week to jump in, as we do have a group class this Thursday. We have a group class every single month, so if you can't make it this month, you'll get the replay, and you can always join us for future month. But we all gather together once a month to discuss a different topic within astrology. This month's topic is money. How money shows up in a birth chart, how it is that you can maximize your money flow by understanding your astrology, how we can see from a chart if someone will be wealthy or what their relationship with money is like. So that'll be this Thursday. So if that's a topic that intrigues you, we would still love to have you within Self-Care Astrology. The link to enroll there will be down below as well. And without further ado, let's go ahead and take it into Vibe Check of the Week. So welcome to Vibe Check of the Week, aka what this week's astrology will feel like. Told to you by a hypothetical scenario. Just in case the terminology of Venus sextile Saturn, Mercury trine Chiron, the last quarter moon in Virgo, just in case that terminology doesn't necessarily ring a bell around, yeah, well, what does that mean for my life? We essentially compare all of that and all of the other celestial energies that await us this week to a real life scenario. So that even if you're not familiar with the intricacies of what this means for you, you can tap into, oh, I've kind of been in a situation like that, to get some hints and clues around what will await you this week. It's not me saying that this exact situation will play out, but when you tune into the theme, to the vibe, to the emotions of it, you may find that it does surface, just maybe in a different way or in a different territory of your life. This week's vibe check is actually quite positive, honestly, even though we've got Pluto entering Aquarius, so it's a time of change personally and collectively, and we're moving towards the future and we're releasing what was. There is an optimistic energy of how we are going about that. And that's why this week's vibe check is the energy of a motivational speech. You know, we're moving into Sagittarius season. If there's one thing Sagittarians love to do, it is step on a soapbox and make unprompted or potentially sometimes prompted speeches, right? And honestly, sometimes we need that. We need to be inspired. That's what helps us and assists us into moving times of immense change, is feeling inspired and having those voices, those stories that encourage us to go off on this journey. We will say, to give this week's vibe check as well as this motivational speech more nuance, we will say that you are moving through a period where you're feeling a little lost. It feels distinctly that one chapter of your life is ending and a new one is beginning, but you're feeling confused around where the story is going. Even what the story has been, where the story is going, who you are as the protagonist. There's this energy around feeling a little bit lost and maybe craving change, maybe feeling change on the horizon, but being utterly confused on where it's showing up, on how it's needed, on how to change. And so you wake up on a Sunday morning, we'll say, and it's cold. You know, here in the Northern Hemisphere, it's so cold right now. I know I'm a baby. I've lived in California. I think of so cold as like 60 degrees, but the sun goes down at like 4 p.m. Like, it's tough, okay? Which sometimes can take a toll on our vitality and on our optimism and on our kind of like lust for life, right? And you're feeling that. You just want to stay in your cozy bed. There's things that you should be doing. There's elements of your life that you do want to change or do want to fix. You're having a hard time getting out of bed and getting out of this like cycle of almost like self-loathing around all the things that you should be doing and you're not, in the ways that your life should be looking and it's not, and just this feeling of confusion around what am I doing with my day? What am I doing with my life? But don't worry, because the vibe check does not end there. This week's vibe check is you deciding to get out of bed and you're like, okay, hey, I have this day in front of me. It's a free day. And I can either view that and look at the space around, gosh, I have nothing to do today and I have no plans with anyone and no one's going to miss me today if I don't reach out to anyone. Like, oh my goodness, you can look at that space, or you can look at it as a blank canvas around what am I going to create? Again, the perspective shift is yours. And I think that's important to bear in mind even beyond this week's astrology, because within the next year, all of the outer planets are changing signs, moving into new signs, new territories. And so this is blank canvas energy. We have this co-creative potential around what these transits are going to have in store for us, what it is that we want to create or birth or experience within our lives. And it's easy when we have this space to project our worst case scenario or to project what this means because we have this space. But you decide on this Sunday that you're going to fill this space with your own adventure. And you don't know where you're going, but you get in your car and you just drive to a sacred spot that you love. For me, here in San Diego, I love the self-realization meditation gardens and Encinitas. That place is like soul food. That is the place that I go to whenever I'm just in need of spiritual comfort, which we need every so often. And certainly within the vibe check, you're craving that. You don't know what you're doing. You don't know who you are. And you know that these are questions that cannot be answered by any external source. It can only be found from within. And you going on this journey to get closer to your own personal truth. And so we'll say within the vibe check that you go to self-realization meditation garden. So beautiful. If you ever visit San Diego, you must go. It's so peaceful. It's so restorative. Meditating there just fuels my spirit so deeply. But you can fill in the blanks. Whatever your special sacred space is that you go to refill your soul. And after you meditate for some time in the garden, you go and you dip into a service. We will say within the vibe check, and of course it's going to differ person to person, but we'll say within the vibe check that you don't typically go to church, but we'll say it's just a day that you are craving some sort of spiritual comfort, to feel tethered to something. Because when we're going through periods of our life that we feel lost or we feel confused, we can feel very untethered. And we will say that when you wander into this church and you listen to the sermon, to the speech, whatever you want to call it, it feels like it was handcrafted from the universe to you. Like that is exactly what you needed to hear today. Even if it's not a service you typically go to or a church you belong to or even a religion that you are deeply committed to, those words of inspiration and motivation just reached your heart and reached your soul at the perfect timing and just made you feel like you are supported, like you are not alone, like you are not lost. You are exactly where it is that you are meant to be. And a lot of us feel this synchronistic energy around the perfect messages reaching us at the perfect time. Maybe for you, it wouldn't be a sermon. Maybe for you, it would be a TED Talk on YouTube. Maybe it would be a story that someone tells you or a TikTok that you find or something of that nature, of just those messages that the universe, God, source energy delivers to you that just reminds you that you are not alone on the journey that you are setting off on and that you do have a bigger purpose here. That's the energy of Sagittarius, is our big picture of what it is that we believe in, which can be truly medicine when we're moving into new territories of our life where we don't know what's ahead. It's important to know that you are supported as you were on this journey. And that's exactly what you find within the vibe check. Now, it's not to say that this day at the meditation gardens and listening to this sermon changed everything within your life, but it does pour into your soul and make you feel optimistic around this next chapter of your life that you're stepping into, because you recognize that you are not alone as you're stepping into it. You recognize that there's so much more than what you can see at this time, and you recognize the power of faith, truly. So the reason why this week's vibe check feels like this soulful, spiritual Sunday where you find yourself wandering to the meditation garden and then being called into the church or any of their sacred site, being called towards the temple or towards the monastery or a place for spiritual rejuvenation, a space of hope and inspiration, is because firstly, we do enter Sagittarius season this week, which Sagittarius as a sign governs theology, it governs philosophy, it governs academia, these studies and these practices that take us out of our own experience, that connect us to the big picture. And so the energy of Sagittarius, it is this desire to go to new horizons. We'll say you haven't been to this church before and you just spontaneously felt called and you answered the nudge around being open to the adventure of experiencing this new sermon. The very nature of you receiving the message that you needed to hear at this time, and this time that your heart is hurting, your mind is hurting, you're feeling lost, you're feeling confused, you're in search of guidance. You found it by way of this sermon, and that's represented by this week's Mercury trine Chiron aspect, as well as Sun trine Neptune aspect. And the very nature of you kind of feeling lost and confused, that's to be expected with us transitioning from Pluto in Capricorn, where it's been since 2008, to moving into Aquarius. We're not at the finish line of the transformation. That's not how change works. That's not how life works. And it's so natural when we can feel ourselves transitioning from one thing to the next, when we can feel our lives transitioning from one thing to the next, to feel lost, to feel confused. And again, perspective is everything, because you can look at yourself and be like, I don't know who I am as a protagonist. I don't know where I'm going. I don't know what my character arc's going to be in this next chapter of my story. You can view that and look at the space, the hollowness. I don't know who I am. Or you can look at that as a blank canvas around, I'm so excited to get to know myself. I'm so excited to see who I'm going to be. I'm so excited to create myself. You know, is it finding ourselves? Is it creating ourselves? The energy of you following your intuition and going to the sacred sites represented by Sun trine Neptune. And the words that were delivered to you, the sermon and the motivational speech that was delivered to you that helped soothe your broken heart, your troubled mind, your restless spirit. That's represented by Mercury opposing Jupiter and trining Chiron. So of course, we will dive into this week's vibe check so much deeper. I do want to remind you that I have timestamps below. So if you want to jump to a particular day, jump back to a particular day, the option to do just that is below. Like I said, I'm here in California, hence why I'm such a baby when it comes to the cold. But that's also relevant because when I give my forecast, I'm giving it in my time zone, which is PST. So you'll want to adjust to your local time zone, wherever it is that you are located within this wide, wonderful world that we may be more apt to want to explore or adventure through with now us entering into Sagittarius season. So let's go ahead and take it into our forecast for Monday, November 18th. So good morning, happy Monday. Welcome to your horoscope for Monday, November 18th. So shortly after midnight, around 12:55 a.m. PST to be exact, Mercury in Sagittarius will oppose Jupiter in Gemini. Couple things on this aspect. First being, these two planets are in mutual reception. Mercury is sitting in Jupiterian domain because it's in Sagittarius, and Jupiter is sitting in Mercurial domain because it's in Gemini. So what that means is that they're answering to each other. How cute. And so the two are sitting in one another's territories. The two are kind of living in one another's homes. Temporarily. So there is an energy around working together, right? Like Mercury asking Jupiter, where's the coffee machine at your house? And Jupiter asking Mercury, how do you work the heater here? Like there is an energy where they're answering to one another. There is mutual reception, but that does not mean that they're not downsides associated with not just this aspect that's occurring on Monday, November 18th, but the future times that it will occur. Because I want you to keep in mind that next week, Mercury stations retrograde. So this particular aspect, Mercury opposite Jupiter, will repeat 2 more times. And also conversations, topics, projects, things that come up this week, or really during the entirety of the shadow period, can be reviewed during Mercury retrograde. And where that can get harmful is that with Mercury opposite Jupiter, we could be a little overly idealistic. We could be a little overly optimistic around, sure, I can get that project done before we leave on holiday break, or sure, I can do this and that. Like we are not seeing things too clearly with this particular opposition. We could be agreeing to too much, saying yes to too much, that with the forthcoming Mercury retrograde, having to review and be like, oh no, I should not have taken on this extra thing, or I did not see that clearly. I was not being too logical when I said yes to this particular project. So it is something to be mindful of. And this is kind of the energy where I was talking about when we go off on an adventure and a journey, we kind of have to be overly optimistic, because if we just thought about the worst case scenarios, we probably wouldn't pack our bags and go. Right? Like you in the vibe check, you could have just stayed in bed and been like, what if I go to the meditation garden and it's really crowded, right? Or even like peering into the church and feeling pulled to go in, but you're like, you don't belong to this church. It's this weird. Like again, you could have walked in and I guess worst case scenario, bursting into flames or something. But even if it was like more of a logical fear, you could have felt like, oh, it's going to be weird, or what if I have to tithe, or something of that nature. But with Mercury opposite Jupiter, it's that energy around sometimes being a little overly optimistic works out, around just walking in and being like, what am I going to learn here? Because ultimately, even though Mercury and Jupiter are much different as energies, and Gemini and Sagittarius are different as energies, they do have one thing in common. That's a desire to acquire knowledge and information. Mercury more so around the details, the facts, the figures. Jupiter more so around wisdom that expands our soul, but both are alike. And again, they're opposing one another. So they're like kind of meeting eye to eye. So they get each other within a desire to learn new things, to explore into new territories, but they do so in different ways. With Mercury opposite Jupiter, sometimes it helps to be a little overly optimistic, to be a little delulu, right? That's what helps us get on the plane when we're going off on vacation, think about all of the fun that we're going to have and the adventures we're going to get into. That's what helps us wander into the church, is that curiosity around what it'll have in store and anticipating the best case scenario in order to hype ourselves up to go in. It's also helpful to infuse our mind with messages that are optimistic, truly, even if they are not optimistic, a component of motivational speeches or sermons, whatever you want to think of it as. It's really this energy around speech or a message that really hits you at a time that you need it. And this person knows nothing about you, but it was really orchestrated by the universe to reach you with this particular message. That can be such healing balm, right? For our souls, for our hearts, for our minds. It's not always so, practical. It's not always so realistic. It's not typical that we wander into a church and the individual talking says, you really should consider cutting dairy out of your diet, or, you really should get your air tire pressure checked. Like, sometimes the messages that come through aren't the most practical and logical, but sometimes that big picture wisdom just helps us, supports us, brings us to a more positive state of mind. And again, that optimism that you feel as you leave the church, as you leave the TED Talk, scroll away from the motivational TikTok, that optimism, that hope, that faith, it'll deflate. There'll be experiences where you're back to feeling a little bit more lost and confused, but it's important to prioritize those things in order to boost you up when you need it. Because of course, life is not a motivational speech. Like, you can listen to a motivational speech and be like so excited around, I'm going to change my life, I'm going to do all these things. And again, it's valuable and it's helpful in setting off on that journey and boosting ourselves up when we need it, but it will kind of deflate, right? Life gets lifey. Sometimes there's just stuff that comes up that's icky, that's hard. Life is not just a sermon, it's not just a motivational speech, but it's important to do that to bring yourself back to your soul space. And that's echoed with the Scorpio Sun trining Neptune in Pisces at 6:07 p.m. PST. This is a very spiritual, intuitive flow of energy. Now, it can be very sensitive and emotional. Okay, there's a reason why we started our vibe check in bed. We did not end the vibe check in bed, but there's a reason why we started there. And that's somewhat influenced by the Scorpio Sun trine Neptune in Pisces. Now, Neptune can be heart-opening. It can be inspiring. It can be cinematic. It can be beautiful. But Neptune energy can also just make us incredibly sensitive, as well as feeling lost at sea. That was the very nature where we started the vibe check around, what am I doing? Where am I going? And it's important with Neptune energy to really connect us to the something more. Sometimes there can be this desire to want to escape, right? I think that's alive this week. Even Sagittarius is kind of the energy around wanting to, run away from our problems to a certain degree. Just, book a trip rather than deal with it. Go to the meditation gardens rather than deal with it, which can be helpful because, again, when you fill up your soul space, it's not that your problems go away, but you look at it differently. Things, lifey stuff that could have been really getting you down, hence why you didn't want to get out of bed, you return to those problems feeling a little bit more nourished and being able to shrink those problems back to their proper size. Like, why am I stressing so much over this? Or why am I freaking out that I'm running out of time? Or why am I panicking about the worst case scenario in this space of my life? Or whatever the specific nuances within your life. It's not to say that these experiences, booking a trip and going to the meditation garden, going to a sermon, it doesn't fix those things for you, but it nourishes yourself where you're in a space to be able to shrink those problems to a proper size and tune into the bigger picture. And when you tune into the bigger picture, you see that these problems that could have been all-consuming are really just small problems that you are encountering as you are soul navigating this human experience. And Sun trine Neptune wants you to remember that. Remind yourself that you are a soul having this experience. And again, we could be feeling quite deeply. It's a Scorpio sun, right? Water energy plunges deeply into what it is that we feel. With the trine to Neptune, we could be feeling acutely lost at this time, very emotional, very sensitive, taking on more energy from other people. Reminder, check out last week's Magic Monday. We talked a lot about merged energy, and I do want you to be mindful of that because we have a water sun, water moon on Monday, so you might need to go back and listen to Monday's forecast last week. Just get dialed in with that energy because water seasons, it can be tough. We feel things deeply, and sometimes Neptune energy wants us to escape from our emotions. And escaping from your emotions isn't always a bad thing. Like, that's what allowed you to go on this quest, right? It's just like, I don't want to sit in bed and ruminate and be in my own narrative of self-loathing. Let me go on an adventure. Let me feel deeply somewhere else, right? Sometimes it could be helpful. But the real way to soothe the Neptunes, if you do come down with a case of the Neptunes earlier this week, is really connecting yourself into something where you dissolve into something bigger than yourself. just those sacred places, those sacred sites. That not everybody who watches this forecast is religious. Some of you may not even be spiritual. So for a lot of you, that may not be a church service. That might not be a sermon. Maybe for you, that's just going to nature, going to a concert, going to a live show, going to those spaces that replenish your soul space and bring you out of just the lifey stuff, right? That remind you that there's so much more than what our experience feels like at this particular moment. And to know that you are exactly where it is that you're meant to be. You know, a downside of that Mercury opposite Jupiter energy that we had earlier today, we could have a lack of focus. It's not just when it comes to our work projects, which could absolutely be alive on Monday, but also our life. Because a downside of Jupiter in Gemini is that Jupiter expands what it touches. And Gemini is around, you know, the 2. And it kind of can be this energy around expanding overthinking, expanding possibility, expanding potentials. Like an energy when you go on Instagram and you see that someone is traveling and you're like, should I be traveling? And then you have a phone call with your cousin and your cousin is having a baby and you're like, should I be having a baby? Or someone you went to high school with is starting a cupcake business and you're like, should I start a cupcake business? Feeling like your happiness, your fulfillment, or even your truth, you know, with Mercury and Sagittarius is out there within these possibilities around what other people are doing, and even overthinking. Would I be happier? Would I be more fulfilled? Would my life contain more meaning? In these external sources. And again, Jupiter is just kind of expanding it and can make us get lost within the different possibilities or potentials. And again, comparing those hypothetical situations with our real life, which like I said is lifey, and almost wanting to run away from our real life around, I'd be happier here, I'd be happier doing this, I'd be happier going here. It's not to say to resist change, it's not saying to resist adventure, but it is knowing that wherever you go, there you are. And you might think you could outrun your problems, but your problems are pretty fast and they have new running shoes, okay? So they might keep up. Again, it's important to do things that fuel our soul, that help us shrink these problems back to their proper size, but don't feel like happiness is out there hinged upon these outer possibilities that might make you overthink around all of the ways that your life could be better, should be better, and wanting to go on these adventures, starting a cupcake business, having this baby, traveling, that you recognize this was not my adventure. This is not what my soul calls for, heart calls for. Like really asking yourself, what does your soul call for? What is your adventure beyond the possibilities of what's being shown to you within the external world? Like what does your soul call for? And it's okay if you don't know. But it is an ask to get quiet, to allow your soul to speak, as well as giving yourself permission that you are exactly where it is that you're meant to be. Like there can be an energy when we have all this external stimuli around feeling like I should be doing this or I should be doing this. But the energy of Sun trine Neptune, it's connecting to your spiritual support team, connecting to your angels, connecting to your ancestors, knowing that you are supported where it is that you are and you're learning lessons that are taking you to where it is that you are meant to go. If we bring it back to Neptune energy being water, it's like you might just feel like you're treading water right at this particular moment, but you just don't know where the current is pulling you. And there is a deep ask this week to really connect to what gives you solace to a soul level and allow that to guide you around. I'm in the right place at the right time. I'm going to be open to the glimmers of what inspires me. I'm going to be open to the nudges of what I feel called to do, but there's no need around looking for validation or looking for the answer within other people or even other people's opinions. Like there is a need to let your soul speak. Because when we think of sun, it's your own ego, it's your own identity. So it's really contemplating what lights me up. Who am I even? And again, we're ending Scorpio season, so I don't want that to send you into existential, who am I type energy, but even just like contemplating, what do I truly desire? You know, beyond when I'm scrolling on social media and seeing how other people are living their lives, like what do I naturally dream of? When do I feel the most alive? That will signal the adventures that you should be going on. And if you don't know that, it's time to quiet the external world and get into your soul space. These are only answers that you and your spiritual support team can answer. There will be nothing outside of you that will tell you what is best for you and for your path. And so with Mercury opposing Jupiter, there can be an energy of overthinking around, well, I could do this or I could do this. Around I could go to the meditation gardens or I could go to brunch, and then wanting to do all this research around looking at the gardens and looking at the weather. Is it gonna be great weather there? And then looking at the brunch menu and just being in analysis paralysis around what is the right decision. And it might be helpful this week if you find yourself getting stuck in that to know that there are no right or wrong decisions in life, truly. you just make a decision and you make it right, right? And that can show up as it shows up to our plans for the day, but it can also show up when it comes to our life, around researching all of these different ways that people are living their lives, trying to find what's right for us. Again, looking for our answers, our truth, our meaning, Mercury and Sagittarius, with all of these other perspectives, all of these other opinions. Because when it comes to any decision in life, there's pros and cons. And Jupiter and Gemini can make us get lost in, I could do this, I could do this. Or if I do this, then this, and this, and then this, and then this. You might go to the meditation gardens and be like, dang it, it's foggy. Like I should have waited for a day in which it wouldn't be foggy if only I did the research. But if you did not go to the meditation gardens, you would not have gone to the church next door and that perfect sermon that was meant to reach you at the perfect time. Like sometimes we can just get ourselves in analysis paralysis, particularly if you feel that change is imminent and you're feeling lost or you're feeling confused, because Neptune energy, like I said, it could be like lost at sea energy. And we can lack perspective. Like what you can feel like at this time, like you're treading water and you're not moving anywhere, is just the universe transitioning you via current from one chapter of your life into the next. And so there isn't asked to be here now. Allow yourself to flow. Don't feel like you have to rush or swim to somewhere else other than where it is that you are. Feel like the answers are out there. You will be guided to go on the journey, to go on the quest in the right timing, in the universe's timing. So it's not feeling like you are not progressing. It's not feeling like you are not on path. You are exactly where it is that you are meant to be. And diving into our own spiritual belief systems help us remember that, as well as help us remember what we perceive as being lost at sea, pedaling and treading water is really a time that, our angels are surrounding us, God is with us, our ancestors are cheering us on, like you are not alone. And that's what I feel is deeply renewing and helpful around being on any sort of spiritual journey, is that it just helps you know that you are guided, that you are supported, that you are guided, and you are supported. So from a lunar perspective, on Monday, the moon enters Cancer shortly after Monday. This is the moon's rulership. So the moon is nice and cozy, and it's also moon day. So a lot of lunar energy. And when there's a lot of lunar energy, there can be a lot of emotional energy. We have Sun trine Neptune. So of course we are feeling things deeply. We're feeling things intensely. And we also could find that our mood is oscillating with the energy of moon in Cancer. It can fluctuate quite a bit. And it's important to know that emotions are not forever. They're like clouds. They come in and they move away. Sometimes when we're in the thick of the emotion, when we're lying in bed and we're freaking out and we're in self-loathing, we just feel like it's going to last forever. And we could feel like we have to change our whole life. Everything's wrong. We're off track. But it's important to honor, okay, this is an emotion. Let me be with it now and it will pass. Like it really does pass. And there can be an energy alive around 3:30 p.m. with the Cancer moon opposing Venus in Capricorn, having a tug of war around doing what nurtures you and fulfills you versus feeling like you have to do something where you earn that nurturing and soothing of yourself. Part of you wanting to take a bath or wander into the meditation garden, but then another part of you telling you, shouldn't you do something productive? Shouldn't you do something efficient? Like having this tug of war within yourself. And again, with Cancer moon, it's important to nurture yourself, soothe yourself. Because again, if you were to bully yourself out of bed on that Sunday in the vibe check around, you need to get up, you need to clean, like you are going to lack that kind of spiritual medicine that helps you return back to the big picture of your life and gives you hope and gives you faith in what you're moving through. Like you're simply not even going to be that productive cleaning your house if you're, crying and you're going through it. Like sometimes it really helps us to do what nurtures us and then return back to the to-dos and the whatnot. And I'm a true believer of this, and even Monday's astrology echoes that, because that evening the Cancer moon trine Saturn in Pisces, so you could feel intuitively inclined to do something that's more responsible or more concerned around, building something, even showing up for your physical home. You could be meal prepping or cleaning, spending time with family. Something like this can feel quite stabilizing. On Tuesday, November 19th, big day, my loves, as today is the day that Pluto moves into Aquarius for the long haul, aka for the next 20 years. So we've got Pluto in Aquarius until 2044. So with that being said, it's important to know that your Pluto in Aquarius story will not completely unfold this week. We are at the precipice of the journey, truly, in more ways than one. So it's not pressuring yourself to be at the end result or to have it all figured out. Within your world as well, I have a lot to say on this transit, and because it's more of a collective and generational shift, I would encourage you to go listen to the video that I did on it, because I go a lot deeper. But ultimately, with the energy of Pluto so it is a bit of a revolution type energy. It is a desire for power to go to the people, to go to humanity. It's also power going to technology. If you look at Pluto and Aquarius, it's very connected with the rise of AI. And so Pluto and Aquarius could continue on that story for better and for worse, such as the nature of Pluto. But also for your life. You know, it's interesting that Pluto's moving from a Saturn ruled sign to another Saturn ruled sign. I'm a traditional astrologer, so I consider the ruler of Aquarius Saturn. But they're different sides of the Saturnian coin, Capricorn and Aquarius. Capricorn is a very structured side of Capricorn around the status quo. This is how things should be done. And Aquarius is sort of the energy around knowing the rules. It's a Saturnian sign in order to break them, or in order to innovate, or to dream of new potentials, to dream of new realities. Recent class, I was talking about 2025's astrology, and I called it Year of the Way Shower. Because truly, I think whenever we're moving to a new paradigm, there's leaders, there are trailblazers. And a lot of times those leaders and trailblazers are considered weird. They're ostracized for their beliefs, for their teachings to a certain degree, but they help us transition towards the future. What's considered weird in their decade is considered revolutionary in the future. And it's really being ahead of their time and truly on the right side of history, because they allowed themselves to speak out around what was accepted but not right. And so there could be asked within your world around where is it that you are trailblazing, where it is that you are leading, not just for yourself, but also for humanity as well. Like with the energy of Aquarius, this is the sign of the humanitarian. So I do feel with the energy of Pluto and Aquarius, there's an energetic around leadership going to those who dare to think outside of the box, people who dare to think differently, who dare to be considered weird or ostracized, and banding together with like-minded souls or communities of people who see things similarly. But with that being said, I also feel like we're going to see some shadow sides of groups and things of that nature. There's truly so much to be said with Pluto and Aquarius. But again, it's easy to look at the radical changes that humanity is going through over the next 20 years and to project fear and how it feels like it's all crumbling and it's all falling apart. Or you could take it as an opportunity around, okay, the old way of doing things is crumbling down. What are we going to create? How are we going to band together as humans? Truly is the ask of this. So this is a much bigger story than just Tuesday, November 19th, but it does officially start Tuesday, November 19th, at least as the transition point where Pluto will no longer go back into Capricorn. We're no longer going back to where we've been before. And I just want to say that because I feel like some of you need to hear that personally. We are not going back to where we've been before. Okay, we're not going back to where we've been before. I know the moon's in Cancer right now, so we could be nostalgic over it. Maybe with Sun trine Neptune, we can romanticize. What if it went this way? What if it went that way? Again, that sort of thinking tends to make us very stuck. You know, the possibilities are endless. So with Mercury opposite Jupiter still alive, we can go down this rabbit hole around what if this would happen? What if this would happen? Just getting lost within our own mind. But the energy of Pluto and Aquarius, it's just letting the past go and stepping into the future. However that's showing up within your world. Like I saw a TikTok, and I wish I remembered the creator's name, but there was a TikTok I saw where she was saying, like, you would not go to your high school and go talk to your teachers about English class and algebra and all of those things because you already passed those courses. So if there is an energy where you're wanting to return to where you've been prior because there's an energy of familiarity around, well, I mastered this coursework. It's like the universe is pushing you to master some new stuff. So I just feel like with Pluto and Aquarius, it's important to tell you, like, there are people you have not met who are going to love you. There are cities that you have not explored that you're going to feel alive in. It's going out and being open for the adventure and open to the future and just letting the past go, especially if it's making you feel very stuck in your head, as well as projecting all this fantasy around how things could have worked out. There's an ask to be very present within the now and the future that you are creating. What transpired, and onward we go towards the future. Also on Tuesday, early in the morning around 3:29 a.m. PST, Mercury in Sagittarius will trine Chiron in Aries, which was represented in the vibe check around the very healing quality of the sermon, of what it is that you heard, how it was the right message at the right time. Those moments of utter synchronicity synchronicity, where you can't help but be reminded around, okay, there's got to be something so much more. There's got to be some divine force, because the fact that I would just stumble into the sermon and hear this message at this exact time, like there must be something more. And that's healing, because it allows us to not feel so alone on our journey, which is subject to come up. And just know that you are being cheerleaded and supported, yes, by the motivational speakers and the pastors and the leaders that you will find on your quest, but also by your spiritual support team. And maybe some of you are being your own cheerleader. You know, you're looking in the mirror, you're doing your affirmations. I would even say with Mercury in its pre-retrograde shadow, think back to past voices that you could have used to listen to. Like I used to do my skincare and listen to Abraham Hicks YouTube videos when I was at my 9 to 5, and then I just kind of fell off for a bit. But I started re-listening again. I was like, oh my goodness, I see why that was, you know, soul food at that time. And it is helpful to tap into those voices that give us a little boost when we're kind of going through it a little bit. When the sun goes down at 4 p.m. and it's chilly outside, there's a lot unfolding. Like it's really helpful to tune into the voices that help us feel not alone on the journey, that help like heal our hearts with the trine to Chiron, that help alleviate some pain, as well as that help us even reframe our pain with Mercury and Sagittarius trining Chiron in Aries. Because it's not denying the pain. You know, Sagittarius is very blunt, honest energy. It might be a little overly idealistic with its separation to Jupiter, but it is finding ways of framing the pain or the obstacles that we've gone through in a more helpful way. Even being able to alchemize those experiences around, what did I learn from that? Or even how that experience, as painful as it was, sent us on a healing journey, or sent us on a quest to get to know our soul, to get to know our truth. And that's where information and messages and, you know, people on soapbox and sermons and pastors and TED Talks and motivational speakers get so helpful, because sometimes you just need one reframe and you look at something so differently. It doesn't take the pain away, but it just helps you look at it differently. You either look at it around what it taught you, you look at it around what it gave you, which yes, might have been a dose of trauma, but maybe even the impetus to go on your spiritual journey or something of that nature, and it helps you keep going. You know, Mercury does station retrograde next week, so we will get more nostalgic as we move into that territory, but we don't want to get stuck into where the hurt unfolded, especially with Mercury opposite Jupiter. We don't want to get stuck thinking of possibilities and potentials around, what if I should have done this, or what if it would have happened this way, or what if it would have happened that way. It happened how it happened, and all you can do now is just ground yourself in what has transpired and seek to move forward. Again, it's not denying the pain, but it's seeing what the pain taught you. It's seeing how it is that you are actively encouraging the voices, the information, as well as the mental practices that support your healing journey, and it's keeping it moving. That's the energy of Sagittarius, is keeping it moving. And it is a muscle that we have to work, because like I said, inspirational talks, it's like a balloon. We just kind of deflate after some time. So if you're noticing you're deflating and you're like, gosh, I'm feeling tempted to go back to this bad habit that I don't want to do any longer, or I want to reach out to this person that I shouldn't, or what have you, that's where you have to inflate yourself with the voices and spaces that remind you where it is that you're going or the direction that you're headed. That's why, I mean, one of the many reasons why I'm so grateful for what it is that I do, because I have been on the other side of the screen. For me, when I was going through a really dark time, I really found a lot of solace and a lot of comfort in voices of people who had no idea I existed on the internet, but their voices and their information that they shared and the ways that they shared it and the ways that they were vulnerable really helped me, soothed me at a time that my mind was going through it and my heart was broken and my spirit was lost. Again, God, universe, spirit will talk to us a lot of times through people, whether that is a YouTuber, whether that is a pastor, whether that's a motivational speaker, a TED Talk. God, universe, source energy talks through people and supports you in the information that you were meant to hear at the right timing. So I feel very blessed that I'm able to be a conduit for information that, even if it's on a smaller scale, is able to inspire one person or help one person not feel so alone, because I know what that feels like and I know the role that the people who did that for me played within my life. And so that was always how I went into this, is just wanting to help one person, because that felt like my duty after the ways that the content creators and the voices and the healers and the people who have supported me during dark times, it felt like my duty to keep going, right? And I want to highlight that because Pluto and Aquarius really focusing on where it is that you can be of service. I'm currently reading Manifest Your Destiny by Wayne Dyer. And within it, he's kind of talking about the different levels that we are in when it comes to our spiritual advancement. And essentially we have like the athlete, which is like very much existing within physicality, the ego, very much existing within success and validation and achievement. And then the next step is really just like aiming to be of service. Because sometimes when we are lying in bed and we're just like absorbed in our own problems in our own life, we're thinking about ourselves too much. That was something I really had to come to terms with within my own life is I'm thinking about myself too much. I'm too absorbed in my own world. Like pulling myself out of that and just being of service really does such wonders when it comes to my mental health and my mood, because the focus shifts from just me and everything that's wrong and why aren't I happy or why aren't I fulfilled to how can I be of service? How can I allow, spirit, universe, source energy to move through me? How can I make one person's day better? How can I make one person's life a little bit sparklier, a little bit brighter? Whatever it is, do not doubt the power that can come through in the ways that you show up, even in small ways. And they say one of the best things that we can do, if we're in a funk, we're just not in the mood, we're not feeling it, one of the best things that we can do is to intentionally be of service, to volunteer, to donate our time, to give to a cause that we care about, or to have this spirit of service alive within our work, like really focusing on how can I give to other humans. And it might be hard because you're like, I feel so lost within my own life, but it helps remind you that you do have purpose. You do have meaning. These little actions do make a difference. You are helping. Even if it's very minor, you never know who you're inspiring. You never know how that conversation with your barista in the morning, how that was exactly what they needed to hear at that time. With Mercury, trine, Chiron, you could absolutely be the conduit. We're all conduits for God, universe, source energy. And so you never know around how you share your story, or you even talk to your barista or give advice to your neighbor. You never know how you are operating as an extension of the universe, as a real mouthpiece for God. And so it's not discounting it. And it helps bring us out of our own, misery and self-loathing when we're focused on how can I be of service? It kind of pulls us out of our own stuff and just focuses around how can I be of service and returns us to the bigger picture. And it's such a beautiful quality where even if your heart is hurting, still seeking around how can I, help other humans? How can I make a difference? How can I make an impact? And we have the Cancer moon squaring Chiron in Aries. This happens at 11:13 a.m. So there could be certain pings. There could be certain sensitivities that come up. Again, Cancer moon does have a nostalgia for the past. And with Pluto entering Aquarius for the next 20 years, there could be an energy around, you can never go home again. Like even if you do, it feels different, right? Because you're different. And that's a grieving within itself. We're in the final degrees of Scorpio season, and this life is a continual grieving. Not to get morbid. I feel like I've been getting morbid all Scorpio season. But truly, this life is a continual grieving. We will not be here within the future. We will have to say goodbye to many people within this planet. We will have to grieve certain eras within our life. So all of that energy that we expend around wanting to be anywhere but here, being like, should I be doing this? Should I be doing this? You're missing life. It's happening here. And so it's so important to not put so much energy in what isn't and how things could be and feeling like I'll be more happy and fulfilled out there. How can I really be happy and fulfilled here and be present for this era of my life? Because there will be elements, small ways or big ways, that this era will change. And again, with the energy of Cancer moon square Chiron, of course, there could be pangs of belonging, of home, of family coming alive. But that evening, we have the Cancer moon sextile Uranus and Taurus. So perhaps there's new ways of soothing yourself amidst them. On Wednesday, November 20th, I want to let you know firstly that for the majority of Wednesday, the sun is positioned at the anaretic degree, which sometimes can charge us with this feeling of urgency, this now or never sensation. And this could be showing up, emotionally. You could be feeling like something is falling apart. You could be feeling sensations or emotions quite intensely. So I just want to prepare you for that. But again, seeing where it is that you can connect with others, because we are in the waning gibbous moon phase, the disseminating moon phase. And this is around, okay, the ahas, the epiphanies, the illuminations of the full moon have come to the surface. And now that the moon is shedding light, it's how it is that we give back. So again, an emphasis around where can I be of service to humanity? Where can I even take my own experiences, like what I have gone through, the pain that I've endured with Mercury, trine, Chiron, and share it with other people. So maybe one person doesn't have to learn a lesson in the hard way that I did, or even sharing a piece of advice to my daughter or to my friend. Maybe that will make them think before they make certain decisions. Again, being able to be the spokesperson for spirit or this cosmic conduit, whatever you want to call it, or being able to give back, whether that's information, whether it's your time, if you're feeling inclined to volunteer to a cause that you care deeply about, especially with this water energy, as well as connecting with other humans, really honoring the connection where you do feel safe with them, where you do have a degree of intimacy. And I say that because early in the morning we have this grand water trine. So it's linking that waning gibbous moon phase, or the sun trine moon, with Neptune and Pisces. So they make this watery grand trine. Now, warning, storm warning, a lot of water, a lot of feels, okay? But also a lot of water, a lot of inspiration, a lot of intuition. So surf with the waves of the water grand trine and really look where it is that you can make a difference, where it is that you can answer your calling. And again, don't get an analysis paralysis around what is my calling, what is my purpose. Like it's one overarching thing. Your calling can be the sweet way that you were on the phone with the customer service representative because they were so overwhelmed because everyone's typically mean to them. Your calling can be the stray cats that you feed outside. Like, don't feel like it needs to be this huge thing. Now it might build to a huge thing, but a lot of times when we're looking for the answers out there, it's like the answers are right here. That feeling of making a difference, look where that could be alive now, alive here. As well as tune into the messages from spirit. Like I said, it could come through information sources, books, podcasts, things of that nature. Also come through music, can come through numbers, like those little signs and synchronicities that just remind you you are on the right path. You're in this wave for a reason. And it's guiding you to the next wave, or it's guiding you to where it is that you are meant to be. Now we have this very spiritual, emotional morning with that water grand trine. The moon will enter Leo around 5:51 a.m. And this is where things get a little intense. Now, firstly, the energy of Leo brings about matters of our own self-expression, what lights us up, how it is that we create, how it is that we lead. And the reason it gets a little dicey is because the Leo moon opposes Pluto, newly in Aquarius, at 5:52, then going on to align with Mars around 2 p.m. So we could be dealing with some rage, we could be dealing with some frustration. Other people can seem to be very prideful, other people can seem to be very combative. We could also just be having anxiety around where things are changing and evolving. The sun is at the aneretic degree of Scorpio. Things could be feeling really intense right now. And again, things do feel intense when we don't take those moments, those soulful Sundays, or whatever it is that you do that feed your soul, where even small matters can really overwhelm us or feel like the world's ending because we have not brought ourselves back to the bigger picture, right? Around, in the bigger scheme of things, I will not think about this, or in the bigger scheme of things, I will not wish that I lived my life like my cousin or this person I went to high school with or my neighbor, what have you. I will want to be at the end of my life knowing that I followed my own quest, my own adventure. But again, if we're not coming back to that, we can feel like we're operating this lens of fear, or even having certain issues come up. Like today, my closet door broke. And like little things like that where we like spiral and we freak out. We just feel out of control of our own life. Like that could be coming up on Wednesday. And the moon aligns with Mars, so you could be more combative with people. You could be a little spicier. You could be a little sassier. You could be a little feistier. This would be a great time for a workout, particularly one that makes you feel confident and strong and empowered and able to take this on. How it is that you frame yourself as the hero of your story is important. And it's going to be even more important as we step into 2025's astrology, because we have Saturn and Neptune entering Aries next year. So it's important that you see yourself as the victor of your journey, that you see yourself as a hero on your journey. It doesn't mean everything's perfect, but it means that you see yourself around, you will rise above this. This closet door is not going to keep me back, okay? And even if you're moving through something challenging, it's not defining yourself and identifying yourself with that. It's seeing yourself where it is that you are, which is on a journey, which is on a quest. You're not at the end result, and you're not all that you will be. So it's just being present in this particular version of yourself while trusting that you are being shown the breadcrumbs, the information, and being led to the places and spaces that will inspire you to take action at the right time. I would advise on Wednesday, put this excess energy towards something, a workout, something creative, bonus points if it's something creative while you're also working out, like a dance class or something you do where it's like splatter painting. That feels like it could get a little physical. That would be aligned on Wednesday. But just know that things could be kind of getting under your skin. For me, it wasn't about the closet door. It's like the overall lack of control around, gosh, I can't even have a closet door that works correctly, that causes us to get into that space where we are more tense, where we're more short, we're more easily triggered. So it's not being hard on yourself, but it's also not lashing out because of that feeling of a lack of control. On Thursday, November 21st at 11:56 a.m. PST, the sun enters Sagittarius, kicking off season of the Archer. I want to take this opportunity to wish all of my Sagittarians a very happy birthday season, and just to say, Sagittarius, we adore you for your deep commitment to your own integrity, to sticking up for what is right to you, your morals, your values, your own truth. Thank you so much for giving the rest of the zodiac the reality check that we need every so often. The blunt Sagittarian honesty is so needed, as well as your humor, your optimism. You make every environment, every room that you step in a little bit more fun, a little bit lighter, a little bit more expansive and free. I love how just being around a Sagittarius, I just want to adventure. I just want to expand. You guys just have this very magnetic quality about you all, and I adore you so much. Enjoy your season. Let me know what you are doing to celebrate. I hope it's something fabulous. But with the sun in Sagittarius, like I said, there is this collective focus around, we went deep, right, with the energy of Sagittarius. Now it's time to explore wide. It's kind of like if Scorpio is dark night of the soul, Sagittarius is the energy around, the sun finally rising, around now that I've gone through, the darkness, I've investigated my own psyche. Now it's a time to find out what gives my life a sense of meaning. Now that I've kind of crumbled away or went through this existential dread around, now I got to go find out and make life a quest, make life an adventure. Because when it comes to Sagittarius energy, yes, they're optimistic, but they're not untethered within reality. It comes after Scorpio. So they're very aware of the darker sides of life, of the deeper sides of life. When you have known loss in your life, when you have known pain in your life, when you have known sorrow in your life, you get even more insistent around moving towards the light within your life, finding something that's worth believing in, creating a life that's deeply worth living, wanting to balance out the darker parts of life with the joy and the optimism and the adventure. And all of us could feel that enliven when it comes to Sagittarius season. Now, of course, this sign, like any other, has its downsides, which yes, potentially can be being overly, dogmatic or feeling like our way to live is the right way to live. But again, it's your quest. It's your adventure. Don't be pulled by what other people are doing with their adventure of life. Focus on your own quest, your own adventure. That might not have been how other people would have chosen to spend their Sunday, but that's how you chose to spend your Sunday, and that was soul food for you at that particular moment. And the Sagittarius sun is welcomed by a sextile to Pluto in Aquarius around 12:40 p.m. And so this is an energy around embracing our own reinvention, embracing our own transformation as an opportunity to get closer to our own sense of truth, extracting and meeting the new sides of yourself. Because it's not to say that this trip or this degree or even this soulful Sunday at the garden, at the sermon, that any of these experiences will be that final puzzle piece where you're like, okay, now I've got it all figured out. Now I've learned everything. The very nature of Sagittarius is this eternal wandering spirit. We never really figure it all out. And it's giving ourselves permission to not have it all figured out. Just learning on the way, evolving on the way, releasing old ways of being with the sextile to Pluto and embracing new ways of being. Maybe that's letting go of belief systems that no longer align. Maybe that's letting go of a season of our life that is done. But it's knowing that it creates space, and with space comes freedom, which is really a quality that Sagittarius really values. And so with the energy of the sun in Sagittarius, there is a beckoning for you to move in directions that give you a sense of meaning. That might not be religion for everyone. Maybe there's an energy around wanting to learn a new skill, get a new certification, plan for a trip. It's important to have your arrow pointed towards something, because we don't have it all figured out. We don't know the end result, but having an immediate, not even goal, but just a soulful aim, a soulful endeavor, it helps us keep moving rather than just staying in bed, analysis paralysis. What am I doing with my life? I don't know, but today I'm going to the meditation gardens. Today I'm going to the sermon. The next step will reveal itself at that particular moment. And so it's embracing that. And so as we move into Sagittarius season, we also have the moon in Leo all day long, making some more favorable moon aspects today. So spirits should be higher. We have in the afternoon the Leo moon sextile Jupiter in Gemini, so you could have certain conversations that are heartfelt. And again, they could be very micro interactions. There can be certain information that comes into your space that reminds you who it is that you are, or what it is that you're passionate about. We have the Leo moon trining Chiron in Aries and trining Mercury in Sagittarius, creating this fire grand trine. So it's really following what sparks your interests, right? As well as what makes you feel seen, what resonates for your journey at this particular moment. Because it's not to say that that particular pastor will be the person who will help you on every leg of the journey. It's not to say that certain podcasts that you listen to will be the podcast you listen to at every leg of the journey, but it's honoring this is what's helping me feel seen right now. This is what's reminding me who it is that I am, as well as who it is that I'm evolving to be right now, and giving yourself grace at this particular junction of your journey. And just a reminder and an invitation, today is the day that our November self-care astrology group class is meeting. So if you're wanting to learn about the astrology of money and finances, it'll make sense when I talk about a transit that's happening tomorrow, why I chose this timing, but we would still love to have you. So just a reminder that you can enroll below if that's capturing your interest, you know, with all this curious Sagittarius energy on Friday, November 22nd. So at 3:55 a.m., Venus in Capricorn will sextile who it is that it's answering to, Saturn in Pisces. Now, do keep in mind, sextiles are soft flows of energy, but they are helpful flows of energy. It's an opportunity aspect for you to grab hold of if you'd like. And this is an opportune energy around budgeting, investing, really looking at your money around how it will grow or stand the test of time, or how it is that it'll get you to where it is that you want to be. You could also be looking at your relationships and your partnerships like that, around how is it that we can continue to build and grow as partners in order to move towards our own shared ambitions. You could be looking at your love life through this more logical, pragmatic look around what are the standards that I need to have in order to call in the partner that I really want to build with. Again, Venus in Capricorn is about quality and waiting for the real thing, right? Having your standards high as you wait for the real thing, but it helps you get clear on what their standards are when you get clear on what it is that you want to build with someone. You know, I've shared this in Magic Monday before, but you know, writing a list of what it is that you are calling in if you desire a partner, and really looking at it around, do I match this energy? Do I meet this list? Like, what it is that I'm asking for, am I that? And how can I work towards becoming that so I could be a match for that? That absolutely could be something that you are contemplating with this energy. But also, Venus is about values. So it's just ensuring what it is that you are building in the external world, what it is that you're committed to and disciplined about, is aligned with what it is that you value out of this world. Your friend values traveling, so that's where a lot of their money goes, and that's why you see that. Your cousin that you're on the phone with who just had a baby values family, values nurturing a life. That's why they're spending their money upon raising a child. Your neighbor values making their own schedule, being around frosting and sprinkles all day long. That's why they have started a frosting business. It all comes down to your values, and it helps you not get distracted around what everybody else is doing around what is it that I value? Because we might not know the whole leg of the journey, but when we have our values ironed out, we at least have a bit of a map. And we're less apt to go on detours where it's like, this is not actually something I valued. I just felt like it's what I should be doing because it's what other people are doing. What do you value? You know, with the energy of Saturn, what do you hope to stand the test of time? What do you want your legacy to be? You know, Venus is love life. So do you want to be married? Do you want to build a family genuinely? Or is that just something that's been projected to you onto society? Is that something that you truly desire? Is that something that you truly value? I believe that with Pluto and Aquarius over the next 20 years, I think there's going to be all sorts of rise of alternative lifestyles, but again, true to yourself. So with Venus sextile Saturn, it's just aligning your priorities to your values is really the ask of this, as well as thinking pragmatically and practically when it comes to your love life, when it comes to your finances, even your aesthetics. You know, Venus sextile Saturn could be this energy around, okay, I'm in this new era of life. How does this version of myself dress? How do they do their hair? How do they do their makeup? And rather than resisting time, right, because Venus sextile Saturn is befriending time, rather than resisting time and feeling like I have to stay frozen in this younger version of myself because society tells us that aging is bad and it makes you less beautiful or what have you, how can I befriend time? How can I embrace the ways that I'm evolving? How can I support myself with skincare, even like beauty procedures or dressing that helps me befriend time to get to meet this version of myself myself and my beauty within this particular chapter of my life, or even investing in products or in habits that support you and support your beauty and time being a friend to you. And so from a lunar perspective on Friday, you might feel a little restless in the morning time. We have the Leo moon square Uranus and Taurus, and the moon will be void for a majority of the day. It enters Virgo at 3:01 p.m. So with that closing aspect being a square to Uranus, you could feel jumpy, you could feel restless. Again, Sagittarius energy can kind of turn up the volume of any inherent restlessness within us around, I want to go on an adventure, I want to explore. And again, it's good to adventure, it's good to explore. Just check in, ensure that these desires are coming from you and not from a desire to run away from your problems. And whether you choose to, travel physically via a trip, travel mentally via a course, travel spiritually via, going to church or going to a service, there's a desire to expand and explore. But with the square to Uranus, we could be feeling bored, restless, wanting something new, wanting an adventure, even having a hard time focusing, very distracted. There could be technical difficulties. Mercury stations retrograde in just a few days, so we definitely could be feeling the effects of that technology not cooperating with us. So it may not be the most productive day. The Virgo moon helps though at 3 p.m. This draws our awareness to the to-dos and the errands and maintenance of life. We do have that evening at 5:28 p.m. the last quarter moon in Virgo. And this is the crisis of spirit lunar phase. And particularly with it showing up in Virgo, it kind of echoes that theme I was sharing earlier around being of service really does give us purpose. Because again, when we're just kind of floating through life, we feel purposeless, we feel lost, we feel absorbed within our own problems and within our own stuff. We forget to extend that helping hand. We forget to tune into how other people might also be suffering as well. And I don't share that to make any of us feel bad or like layer onto guilt or anything of that nature, but it just is an energy around seeing where it is that you can strive to ease other people's suffering. Because the more that you strive to do that, the more that you truly do ease your own as well. It helps you return to the bigger picture around how we do make a difference and how we are just souls. So we came here to help one another. And with the last quarter moon, I'll be forthright, some of us can feel this crisis point, this choice point, right? The full moon last week was a call for change, a call to liberate ourselves. And we are feeling restless with the earlier moon square Uranus energy. But with the last quarter moon, we could be struggling with this desire for change, but also struggling with the details, the logistics of said change with this energy of Virgo, and getting overwhelmed around the new horizons we're wanting to expand into and the details needed to support that new reality. And wherever that's showing up, I would just say with this landing in Virgo, the more that you can focus of being of service, God will always be with you on your journey. The universe will always be with you on your journey, aligning the luckiest, most magical circumstances. Like Sagittarius is a very lucky sign. And the more that you really devote yourself to being of service in whichever level that shows up for you, the more that you'll feel supported on your path and the more synchronistic, beautiful events transpire for you. And it just also helps us remove us from our own experience, tapping into how can I be of service? How can I ease other people's suffering? It tends to give you quite a bit as you are giving. So on Saturday, November 23rd, the moon is in Virgo all day long. It opposes Saturn midday, so the mundane facets of life could be demanding a lot of your attention. And that was kind of that push-pull of yesterday's last quarter moon, is Sagittarius is the adventure and Virgo energy is the routine. And there could be a call that wants to adventure and expand into new places and spaces, to take on new vacations or trips. But in order to do that, we have to first do our laundry, right? Like that's the very nature of Virgo, is the maintenance of being a human being. Some of which, with opposition to Saturn, can feel a little stifling sometimes around, gosh, I'm just a soul and now I have to fix this closet door. Are you kidding? Or I'm just a soul and I have to do these dishes. Or my goodness, life is just a repetitive cycle of having to clean my clothes and like handle these particular matters. Sometimes the care and keeping of your daily world, your body, your home, your reality can feel a little restrictive. And that's where it's important with the Virgo moon then going on to trine Venus and Capricorn to find those moments of beauty, to find those moments of enjoyment. Maybe after you clean your house, you light a candle and you bask in it, right? Maybe after I figure out how to close my closet door, I'll do something to reward myself. Or even as you're cleaning, play music. Like we're in Sagittarius season, which is very spiritual. So even contemplate the spiritual component of what you're doing, you're clearing out old energy, you're inviting in new energy. Like sometimes even just the perspective that we apply helps us find more pleasure in this necessary act of maintenance. And seeing wherever possible, you can shift your thinking from, ugh, I have to do this to I get to do this. Because there's going to be days that work feels a little heavy, and there's going to be days that being a parent is hard. Like there's going to be elements where it gets a little lifey, like I said. But it's remembering, like, my goodness, I get to be a parent. My goodness, I get to do this as my job. My goodness, I get to be of service, right? That can be something that's alive here. And on Sunday, November 24th, there is a mutable T-square aligning in the cosmos, which can make you feel a little all over the place. Focus can be a challenge. You could feel pulled in many different directions, whether it's pulled by many different emotions, pulled by many different opinions, pulled by many different options. There could just be an energy around feeling like different parts of yourself are battling with you. You know, when it comes to T-squares, they're all a little chaotic, but I would argue mutable T-squares are the most chaotic of all, especially this one, because the Virgo moon is also answering to Mercury, who's answering to Jupiter, who's answering to Mercury, who's answering to Jupiter. So you could just feel like your emotions, your thoughts, even your intuition, you're being bounced around like a ping pong ball a little bit. And my advice, I would say, with the energy of Virgo, especially if it's coming up in like an overthinking way, overanalyzing sort of way, get into your physical body, even meditate. My goodness, I'm such a strong believer and proponent in meditation. This year, 2024, was the first year that I started to meditate regularly. I would do it every so often before, and everyone would tell me to do it and tell me to do it and tell me to do it. But this was the year that I kind of had to. Life circumstances kind of forced me to do something different, which again kind of gets to that Mercury trine Chiron energy that I was talking about earlier, where it's like sometimes things could be painful, but we turn that pain into purpose, or at least to remedy that pain, we learn something that helps us move towards our purpose. And for me, what I went through, it pushed me towards a lot of things, but one of which was meditation. Every single morning, which has been incredibly healing on my journey, incredibly helpful on my journey, especially if you're having a hard time getting into your own voice. Like again, sometimes you got to quiet everything for your soul to speak. So if you're feeling a little flustered all over the place on Sunday, meditate, get quiet, drop in. It's so worth it. I know the Virgo moon is telling you have no time, that you're so busy, that there's things that you need to be doing to be more efficient. But again, sometimes the best thing that you could do is fill up your soul space and then return back to the to-dos and the errands. The Virgo moon will trine Uranus and Taurus around 5 p.m. So maybe an invitation to shake up your routine in some way. Try something new. Maybe you don't meditate. Maybe this could be a day to try it, or try a new workout class or something of that nature. And then at 9:35 p.m., the Virgo moon will oppose Neptune in Pisces. So your dreams could be quite interesting. Your intuition could absolutely be speaking to you via signs or synchronicities. You could even get really interesting like downloads when you're in a workout class, like a yoga class or something of that nature. Of course, Neptune energy can make us want to, grab a glass of wine or smoke something. Like that can be a call for Neptune energy, certainly, especially if you're feeling this Virgo moon energy, which might be a little bit more worried, a little bit more anxious, a little bit more critical of yourself, critical of others. There could be a desire to like want to soothe those thoughts in some way. And my recommendation would be soothe them through meditation, soothe them through music, soothe them through a workout class. Again, quiet the mind so the soul can speak. And it's Sagittarius season, so the soul is speaking lots. So my loves, that is our week. The Magic Monday mantra of the week is, I set off on my own adventure. This is your life. This is your adventure. You can make it whatever it is that you want to make it. If you have been waiting to live because you do not want to make the wrong decision. Again, there are no right or wrong decisions in life. There are just decisions that you make right. Now, that being said, please live in integrity, treat your body right, be safe, as well as try not to break the law. But other than that, you just make decisions, and new possibilities and opportunities align for you by result of you making those decisions. And it's important to trust yourself as the captain of this journey. Like that experience within the vibe check was so validating for you to step into that sermon, because now you can trust your intuition. You're like, I don't know why I felt so led to go to, the self-realization meditation gardens, but it was meant to be, because I was meant to hear this particular message from this person. I can trust myself. I'm the pilot of my own adventure. I can trust myself to navigate Because I have a co-pilot, right? You're doing so with spirit, but it's important to trust yourself as the conduit for the nudges that you get from spirit, from God, from universe. And you will get those little moments, those little signs, those synchronicities, those coincidences that are the universe telling you you're on the right path. Right? That sermon that told you exactly what you needed to hear. That client that you worked with who was so grateful for your services that it just brought you back to the bigger picture of why you do what you do. Like those little whispers and nudges that just affirm you are where it is that you're meant to be and you are going to where it is that you are meant to go. Spirit team is with you. There might be a detour, there might be a delay, but you will get to where it is that you are destined and meant to go. But it's important to set off on your own adventure. Do not be swayed or tempted or persuaded by how other people choose to live their lives. They're on their own adventure. Sagittarius season reminds us to thine own self be true. You don't want to build a cupcake business and then realize, oh, that was my neighbor's adventure. You don't want to just have a baby because you feel like, oh, that's what everyone else is doing, so that's the adventure that I need to take on. You don't need to travel just because that's what you feel like will answer these questions from within. It's really contemplating, what is my adventure? Again, with Venus sextile Saturn, what do I value on this adventure called life? So my loves, if you made it to the end of the forecast, go ahead and comment below the word cupcake or the cupcake emoji to shout out your neighbor in their cupcake business. Again, we could cheerlead other people with their adventures. It might not be what we're going to do. It's important to set off on your own adventure and move in directions of where it is that you find your own sense of meaning and your own truth. So reminder, you can check out my 2025 recorded readings below, as well as join in on self-care astrology. There's various tiers based on the level of one-on-one support that you are looking for at this point in time. But my loves, I'll see you again, same time, same place. See you in the Cosmic Corner. But until we meet again, drink lots of water and stay cosmic.